Welcome to The Last Goodbye, where John shares heartfelt tributes to extraordinary lives that left a lasting mark on the world. This channel is dedicated to remembering beloved figures from film, music, television, and culture, honoring their journeys, their achievements, and the legacy they leave behind. Through every story, their memory continues to live on with dignity and meaning. Lee Najar, a businessman known for his indirect connection to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, has passed away at the age of 68. His daughter, Caitlin Najar, confirmed the news on April 20 through emotional social media posts sharing personal memories. He reportedly died on April 18th, and the cause of death has not been publicly disclosed. Public recognition. To viewers of the show, he was known as Big Papa, a name referenced during the early seasons despite never appearing on screen. His presence became part of the storyline through Kim Zolciak's mentions, sparking curiosity among audiences. This off-screen role gave him a mysterious reputation and made him a notable figure tied to the show's early popularity and public discussion. Personal and public narrative. His relationship with Kim Zolciak drew attention and occasional speculation, with varying reports shared at the time. While much of the discussion focused on controversy, both sides described it in personal terms. Over time, the relationship ended, and Najar gradually stepped away from public attention, choosing to live a more private life away from media focus. Family and remembrance. Following his passing, his daughter shared heartfelt tributes reflecting their close bond, including photos, videos, and handwritten notes that held deep meaning. He is survived by his wife Kimberly and their children. Remembered for his private nature, he leaves behind a legacy centered on family, personal relationships, and life outside the spotlight. Daryl Sheets was widely known for his long-running role on Storage Wars, where he became one of the most recognizable figures in the series. He passed away at the age of 67 in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, with authorities noting that official details are still under review. Over the years, he became a familiar presence to viewers who followed the show from its early seasons. A career built on experience and instinct before television fame, Sheets spent decades working in storage auctions. It was a demanding field that required quick judgment and a willingness to take risks. He earned a reputation for bold decisions and a strong sense for valuable finds, which set him apart in the industry and helped define his professional identity. Rise through Storage Wars. When Storage Wars first aired, Sheets quickly stood out for his confident approach and competitive spirit. The show turned storage auctions into mainstream entertainment, and he became one of its most talked about personalities. His finds, strategies, and reactions added energy to the series and helped shape its popularity over the years. Family and personal life. Outside of television, Sheets often emphasized the importance of family. He shared a close bond with his son, Brandon, who also took part in auction work. Those who knew him described him as someone who valued personal relationships alongside his career. A lasting impression. Daryl Sheets leaves behind a legacy tied to his work, personality, and influence on reality television. His journey reflected risk-taking, determination, and a distinctive presence that made him memorable to both viewers and colleagues. Priscilla Anderson passed away at 45 after a long battle with cancer. She was a former choreographer for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and built a respected career in dance and entertainment. She later became known to wider audiences through Country Ever After with her husband, Coffee Anderson, where her strength and positivity stood out. Dance career highlights. Priscilla began her career as a hip-hop dancer and choreographer, performing with artists such as Britney Spears, Rihanna, and Snoop Dogg. Her work highlighted her versatility and strong stage presence. She later contributed to cheerleading choreography, helping create energetic and polished performances. Her experience across live shows and television made her a respected creative force in dance. Public recognition. Her appearances in reality television offered a more personal look at her life, showing her as a performer, wife, and mother. Viewers connected with her openness about balancing family and career. Her story was appreciated for its honesty and the way she shared both struggles and joyful moments. Personal message and legacy. A message shared after her passing reflected her faith, peace, and love for her family. She encouraged her children to stay strong and remember love over loss. Those who knew her describe a person who faced illness with courage and gratitude. Her legacy continues through her family, her work, and the inspiration she leaves behind. Catherine O'Hara, born March 4th, 1954, is a celebrated actress known for her unique blend of comedy and emotional depth. Over a career spanning decades, she has become one of the most recognizable and respected performers in film and television. Her work is marked by sharp timing, expressive characters, and a distinctive ability to balance humor with sincerity, and is widely regarded as one of the most influential comedic actresses of her generation. Film and television highlights. She first gained attention as a performer on the groundbreaking sketch comedy series SCTV, where her versatility allowed her to play a wide range of characters. She later appeared in films such as Beetlejuice, where her eccentric performance stood out, and Home Alone, where she played Kate McAllister, a role that became a holiday favorite for audiences worldwide. Her performances continue to be celebrated for their timeless humor and emotional resonance. Later, success and recognition. More recently, she experienced a major career resurgence with her award-winning role as Moira Rose in Schitt's Creek. The character became a cultural phenomenon, showcasing her fearless commitment to comedy and improvisation. Her performance earned critical acclaim and introduced her talent to a new generation of viewers. Her work remains influential in contemporary television comedy and character-driven storytelling. Personal style and legacy off-screen, O'Hara is known for her wit, humility, and dedication to her craft. Colleagues often praise her warmth and professionalism, noting that she brings creativity and kindness to every project. Her body of work continues to inspire both audiences and fellow actors, leaving a lasting impact on modern comedy and storytelling. She continues to be regarded as a defining figure in modern comedic acting. Alan Osmond passed away at the age of 76 after living for nearly 4 decades with multiple sclerosis. As the eldest member of the Osmonds, he became part of a group that rose to major popularity in the 1970s and helped shape a musical legacy that reached audiences around the world. While his public identity was tied to music and performance, those close to him often remembered a more grounded life built on family, creativity, and steady determination. Over the years, his health gradually changed his physical abilities, but it did not change his outlook or his commitment to living with patience and acceptance. Instead of focusing on what was lost, he adapted to new ways of living and continued to value connection and kindness in everyday life. Even when he stepped back from active roles, he remained supportive of others and found meaning in encouragement and shared moments. His journey reflected a belief that purpose is not defined by circumstance, but by how a person continues to show care, resilience, and presence. Alan's life is remembered not only for his contribution to music, but also for the quiet strength and values he carried throughout his years. If this life were written as a screenplay, it would probably be rejected for feeling too exaggerated to be real. One immigrant manages to live 3 entirely different lives in a single lifetime: a world champion athlete, a global action cinema icon, and a political leader in one of the most influential states in America. From the outside, it looks like the ultimate version of the American dream, a straight line from struggle to success. But behind that polished image is a far more complicated human story shaped by pressure, ambition, and emotional cost. Every achievement came with a hidden price, and every victory created a new expectation. What makes this journey remarkable is not just the success itself, but how each chapter seems to erase the previous identity while building a larger one on top of it. A childhood built on hard ground. The story begins in post-war Austria, in a small village where life was shaped by scarcity and recovery rather than comfort. Resources were limited, homes were simple, and daily life demanded resilience from everyone. In Arnold Schwarzenegger's household, discipline was strict and expectations were high. His father, a local police officer, believed strongly in order and structure, and that attitude shaped the environment at home. Childhood was less about leisure and more about responsibility, routine, and competition between siblings. There was little room for softness, and approval was rare. In that environment, young Arnold often felt like he did not quite belong, as if he was meant for something beyond the narrow boundaries of his surroundings. That feeling of separation, rather than breaking him, slowly formed the early foundation of his ambition and desire to escape toward a larger world. The first vision of a different life. Everything changed when he first encountered images of America. Through films and magazines, he saw a world that felt completely opposite to his reality: bright cities, opportunity, freedom, and larger-than-life personalities. It was not just admiration, it was direction. Around the same time, he discovered bodybuilding and saw it as more than a sport. It became a structured path toward transformation. Influenced by early bodybuilding figures, he began to see physical development as a way to reshape not only his body but his future. Training became disciplined and intense, often more serious than those around him understood. While others saw it as obsession, he saw it as preparation. Each repetition, each session, was mentally tied to a future outside his village. That vision became a blueprint, turning imagination into a long-term plan instead of a distant dream. Discipline, rebellion, and early breakthroughs. As he grew older, training became central to his identity. He pushed himself far beyond typical limits, treating physical development like a personal mission. Even during mandatory military service, he found ways to continue training with intensity, sometimes prioritizing competitions over strict rules. One early contest became a turning point, proving to him that determination could overcome experience and resources. However, this drive also brought conflict, as his focus often clashed with authority and expectations around him. Punishments or setbacks did not discourage him. Instead, they reinforced his belief that he was meant to operate outside normal systems. Every challenge strengthened his independence and reinforced the idea that discipline could reshape destiny. At this stage, he was no longer just an ambitious young man. He was someone fully committed to building a future beyond his environment. Arrival in America and the reality of competition. When he finally arrived in the United States, the dream quickly met reality. America was not just opportunity, it was competition at the highest level. In early contests, he faced defeat, something unfamiliar after years of dominance in Europe. The loss forced him to reassess everything, from physique to presentation. Instead of giving up, he moved to California, where bodybuilding culture was evolving rapidly. Training spaces became both classrooms and battlefields where athletes pushed each other to extremes. He refined his approach, focusing not just on size, but proportion, definition, and presentation. Training became almost scientific, with attention to every detail of muscle development. This phase marked a transformation from a strong competitor into a strategic one, where success depended not only on effort, but also on understanding perception, psychology, and consistency over time. Building influence beyond physical strength. As his physique developed into one of the most recognized in the sport, he also began to understand the importance of presence and psychology. Competitions were not just physical contests, but mental ones. He learned how confidence, interaction, and mindset could influence outcomes even before stepping on stage. This ability to project dominance made him stand out in a sport filled with extraordinary athletes. At the same time, he became part of a close-knit community of competitors who trained together but also pushed each other through rivalry. His personality, combined with his physical transformation, made him a central figure in the sport's growing popularity. This era also helped shape his public image, especially after being featured in a documentary that introduced bodybuilding culture to mainstream audiences and turned him into a recognizable personality beyond the gym. From athlete to business mindset, even before entering entertainment, he showed a strong understanding of financial growth. Unlike many athletes who focused only on competition, he began investing in small businesses and opportunities outside the gym. Construction work, fitness-related ventures, and early investments helped him build financial independence at a young age. This approach gave him stability and options, something rare among athletes in his field. His mindset was always forward-looking, treating each success as a stepping stone rather than an endpoint. By the time he reached the peak of bodybuilding success, he was already preparing for the next stage of his life. This ability to think beyond a single career path would later become one of the defining traits of his entire journey, allowing him to transition into entirely different industries with confidence and planning. Hollywood breakthrough and reinvention. The move into Hollywood was not immediate success. Early roles were limited, and his accent and physical presence made casting difficult in traditional roles. However, instead of trying to fit existing expectations, he leaned into what made him different. Over time, this uniqueness became his strength. Films that initially seemed unconventional for leading roles eventually became cultural milestones. His breakthrough came with roles that emphasized physical presence and minimal dialogue, where expression and movement mattered more than language. A major turning point came with a science fiction role that transformed him into a global icon, redefining how action heroes were portrayed on screen. Around this time, competition with other action stars also pushed the genre forward, creating an era defined by larger-than-life characters and intense physical storytelling, rise to power, and political transformation. After dominating both bodybuilding and cinema, he entered a completely different arena: politics. His public recognition and charisma helped him transition into leadership, where he positioned himself as a problem solver rather than a traditional politician. His leadership style was direct, energetic, and heavily influenced by his background in discipline and performance. During his time in office, he focused on environmental issues, infrastructure, and state-level reforms. While his approach was often unconventional, it reflected his belief in action-oriented solutions. However, political life also brought challenges, including criticism, economic difficulties, and public scrutiny. Unlike entertainment, politics offered fewer controlled outcomes, and success was often measured in compromise rather than victory. This period tested his adaptability more than any previous stage of his life: personal challenges and public scrutiny. Behind public success, personal life became increasingly complicated. Over time, emotional distance and private decisions led to significant strain within his family life. When private matters eventually became public, they created widespread media attention and personal consequences. The impact extended beyond reputation, affecting relationships and personal identity. This phase marked one of the most difficult periods in his life, where public admiration contrasted sharply with private challenges. At the same time, health issues later added another layer of difficulty. A major medical procedure tested his physical resilience in a way that competition never had. Recovery was slow and demanding, forcing him to confront vulnerability and limitations that earlier stages of life had rarely required him to acknowledge. Reinvention, reflection, and legacy. In later years, his focus shifted away from dominance and toward reflection, mentorship, and public engagement. Rather than chasing new peaks, he began sharing lessons from his journey, emphasizing discipline, responsibility, and long-term thinking. His work increasingly centered on motivation, health, and social awareness. He also rebuilt relationships within his family, including connections that had once been strained by distance and past decisions. Physically, he adjusted to age with acceptance rather than resistance, continuing to stay active while acknowledging change. His legacy today is not defined by a single achievement, but by the unusual combination of roles he has played across different fields. More importantly, his story demonstrates how ambition can build extraordinary success, while also demanding personal cost, reflection, and continuous adaptation throughout life.